Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 204, entitled Postpartum Depression. Tonight, we welcome Emily Tappe to the table. She will be helping us understand how to recognize and survive postpartum depression through her very own experience. We are very blessed by her courage and willingness to share. Keep in mind, tonight's topic is emotional as we discuss depression, suicide, and hopelessness. Pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com at Lunchtime in Rome. Visit us at www.lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you give us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast, and we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is Lunchtime in Rome. Rome. Eric's on he's on tech tonight, where he likes to be. He's fixing the echo that I hear in Amy's voice and a little bit of mine. Appreciate that. Ladies, Rachel's with us tonight.
Hello.
Hi.
Amy Hammond is on the mic, and Emily Tappe, like we said, is with us.
Hello.
What's been going on, ladies?
Just regular everyday stuff. I don't know, nothing crazy busy, but been doing a lot of work outside.
I know you weren't
Which is
outside
my favorite thing. I know I wasn't. Well, it was raining. And getting ready for vacation. I'm excited. I'm very looking forward to all that.
Have the deer been leaving your stuff alone?
Yes, because I have to spray stinky spray.
That stuff is stinky.
It smells like raw eggs and it's disgusting. And like I do it at night. Actually, my neighbor's out there doing it right now. So if you smell anything, that's what it is.
It's your flowers.
But it's the only way to keep them away. Otherwise, they will destroy everything and all your hard work and for nothing.
Bella has sprinkled our flower beds with Irish Spring in the hopes that it would keep the deer away.
I saw that.
It
It
does
did for a
not.
while.
Well,
not.
it
Yeah.
got washed away, so then the deer ate my flowers
right.
anyway.
And for the first time ever,
Yeah.
they ate. I have 3 hot pepper plants in my driveway in pots, and it's been at least 10 years that I've planted them, and they never eat the hot peppers.
Yeah.
Till this year. Every bud, every one of them.
Yeah.
There's going to be some Bernie deer
I was
poop.
gonna say-
Right?
Yeah, but even remember when the raccoons ate Trey's chemo diapers?
Yes.
I thought that was good. Then I thought we were going to look out and see the raccoons glowing in the dark, like you
my
can't
gosh.
beat me.
And they still came back.
They still came back.
yes.
They were stronger. Yeah, they were radioactive. It was terrible.
Yeah. I have to do this once a week, like in peak season. Otherwise, it's
Is it
it's
a spray?
pain. It is. Like I get one of those big sprayers that you pump and it's like a really big concentrate and it's expensive. It's like the cheapest is $380. It's like 26 bucks for like a
380 auction.
380 auction.
I
Yeah.
was like 380 bucks.
Yes, you can get a huge like 5-gallon one for over $200 though. Which actually, my neighbor and I were like, maybe we should just split it, and then anyway,
Yikes.
the whole thing.
Stinking
But my
deer.
neighbor feeds them, so it's like then they'll use our yard for a bathroom. So it's another thing. Like I try to keep deer out of the yard. I don't like the ticks and blah blah, stuff. So
Ticks.
yeah,
Hey, it's been like
never had a tick. Knock on wood.
I've only had like 3 this spring. It's been like 2
Is that
weeks.
it?
Yeah. But I'm
scares
like on
me.
a 2-week stretch
Yeah,
without
It makes
one.
me nervous. Yeah,
You got to get them early.
yeah.
Rachel, my love,
Yes.
What's up?
what's new with you since the last time you were on the podcast?
My school year is finally
Yay!
done. Summer is in full swing
Yes.
in our chilly 60-degree
Right.
couple days here. We just got back from being away.
The
for a couple
vacation before
days.
the vacation, we like to call it.
Yes. Where did you go?
I don't know. Slippery Rock.
Hermitage, PA for one night, and a disc golf course that killed me 2 years ago, so I had to get revenge on it.
And
I played better. I still could have played even better. But she was, Rachel is, you disc golf, you're not a disc golfer.
Right.
So she's playing, and like second hole, she takes a sweatshirt off, and it just so happens we were right by the car, and she's like, "Well, I might need it later," and I'm like, "Honey, it's not going to get any colder unless clouds come in and we get a nice mist of rain and about a 20-mile-an-hour wind."
Yeah.
To which she said, "Name one other woman you know that would do this with you." And I
That's
said, "Honey,"
right.
I said, "they would all kill to be you right now."
No, it was
Or
then-
they're saying that poor woman.
it was
Yes.
pretty cold.
You better
stopped.
feed me a good dinner later.
Yeah.
Oh, and why don't you tell them about your dinner later in Slippery Rock?
My spinach artichoke dip that had gluten in it, so you could not have any.
All yours.
Yes, and
And
a big old meatball hoagie.
Ooh,
It's delicious.
yum.
she was, it was so great.
Is
She
that a
got to-
victory dinner?
It
Chow
was,
down.
yes. And then I was asleep like a half an hour later.
I bet.
Yeah, but we stayed at our first bed and breakfast. We've
Oh,
never
yeah,
done
that's
that
right.
before. We've done Airbnb. We've done mini cabins. We've done
Mm-hmm.
certainly hotels, both nice and very not nice.
Mm.
But it was our first bed and breakfast that was, 95% great?
Yes.
I was going to say, and last time at the bed and breakfast.
Maybe.
Maybe. It was a little awkward
Right.
because it was so quiet and it was just, you feel like you're in somebody else's house. And then at breakfast, we went in and they served breakfast at 9 and there's just one dining room table. And so we sat down
It's
and
like a cruise.
ordered.
Yeah.
And then, of course, another couple came in and
Is that right next to you?
Yes.
Do you mind if we
yes.
sit next to you? We do.
Yes.
we do.
Very much.
The whole table.
Please sit somewhere
oh, yeah,
else.
no. Eric's laughing. He already knows what I'm thinking.
But how about this? First of all, the guy said he graduated from high school, and it turns out he lives in Verona.
Yeah.
But in 1970, which is 19 years before I did, which means he's 19 years older than I am.
Yeah.
And I would have put him at like maybe 70. Oh, I guess it is only 71. I did bad math earlier.
I thought so. I just didn't want to say anything.
But still, for 71, he looked really good. And the only thing I will add to our update, or my update, was the first night we went to, which we love to do, go to like this podunk middle of nowhere bar, which we go in and we make a left into what we think is the bar, but there's a pool table and a bar they're not using and like a couple storage boxes and like not even a jukebox, poker machines. And we're like, well, this isn't the bar. And so we go down this hallway. Well, there's the bathrooms. Make a left, go down another hallway, make a right. There's the bar, which was a normal sized bar with like 4 tables. And so we got our drinks, went back and shot pool in a room by ourselves for about a half hour. Played pretty darn good for us.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Happened to win both games, I did. But then we go back and we wanted to get something to eat. So Rachel got her pretzel bites, I got my wings. And we started talking to the bartender because he had stars on his T-shirt.
You started talking to the bartender.
That's kind of a given. But he then brings up that we somehow mentioned that she works at the school for the deaf. And so he said, hey, do you want a dog? And he shows us a picture. And he said it was a deaf dog and that he rescues dogs. And he got into this long story. Eric, I'm really loud in my ears right now. If you could turn me down just a little bit, that'd be great. And so we're talking to him, and we couldn't figure out if he was hitting on Rachel or if he was hitting on me or he was just a sweet, nice guy. Mm-hmm. So I gave him my number.
He did.
He's like, nobody comes in here. I needed to talk to
Well,
somebody.
he had talked about how he's come to Pittsburgh before and he needs people to sit dogs. Because I told him I'm never getting another dog until they cost nothing to maintain, nothing to acquire, and they never die. So
never.
I wrote dog sitter. I didn't write like for a good time. I'm done doing that with bartenders. I'm telling you, that is not what I do with Rachel.
All right.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
Some other time, maybe.
Stop.
But, hey, so Emily Tappe, formerly Emily Piccolino, is
Yes.
with us. Before we start talking about anything else, how are you? How's your life? What's your summer look like?
I'm good. I don't work. Praise the Lord right now. So my summer is with my kids, and it's baseball.
And you have how
almost-
many kids?
Just two. Two boys.
Just 2.
I
No,
feel
I mean like just 2. Like 2's a lot.
yeah. Some days it can be, some days it's not. But yeah. But we're baseball every weekend, much to my husband's approval.
Oh, I was going to say. You weren't going to say
He
chagrin.
would. No, never.
You've been married how long to Matt?
Next month is 15 years.
What?
Wow.
I was a baby. I was
Yeah.
22.
Aw.
I was a babe. Mm-hmm. You were there.
15 years. I was there.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I know.
And your kids are how old?
Brody's 10. Blake is 7.
Aw.
7.5. Yeah.
Babes. You're a boy mom.
I know.
And so it's baseball all the time. Do you guys have a pool?
We do not.
Do you go to a pool or you're not a pool fan?
Yeah, we go. No, we go.
Where do you go?
We do. We really like Vandergrift Pool.
Vandergrift pool.
It's a hike, but it's fun. It's unfortunately closed right now. I guess they had some kind of
Somebody pooped in the pool.
No, it's been
Already?
closed. They haven't even opened yet. There was some damage, and they have to get it fixed. It's not going to be open until July.
Oh.
Was there vandalism?
Oh God!
Oh, man.
Vandergrift pool. No. And your dad's okay?
Yeah, he's fully retired, loving it.
Formerly of Crescent Gardens Floral, Mark Piccolino. So family's good. Everybody's all right.
Yeah, we're
Your
good.
brother survived his first season as Ben Hill's volleyball coach.
I think barely.
Aw.
Yeah.
He didn't get called into
It's-
the athletic office once.
No, he and Steph are pretty cool though.
Yeah, what? You think I wasn't cool with Steph?
Give it time, I guess.
Yeah,
Will probably. I mean, it's good though. It's good growth for him.
sure.
It really is. He's a big boy now.
Oh, he is what, 30?
He's 33. Yeah.
33.
Oh, gosh. You guys in my
Sorry.
brain are just,
I'm
you're still
sorry,
kids.
I know.
And 15 in.
Listen, there are days where I'm like, wait, I'm really 37?
That's a big number.
I know. It's close to 40.
Yeah.
Listen,
Hey,
I know.
Pipe
Sorry.
down over
had my
there.
daughter
Sorry.
2 weeks before I turned 37. So
Yeah.
just think about that.
You prayed for that.
I did.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, God bless you. I can't imagine having a kid right
yeah.
now. Golly.
Neither do we. This is true.
He
Yeah.
says.
But that's maybe a good segue because, I made the joke. I said, well, you prayed for this because, Maggie was their miracle baby
Yeah.
and they'd given up and there was no hope. And different people over the years when they've had difficulties raising a child because turns out not easy. They say, hey, remember, you prayed for this. It's like, hey, shut up twice.
Still be.
Here's a
yeah,
little
feel this
podcast called
way.
Lunchtime in Rome.
Right.
That we're going to teach you how to emotionally respond when somebody is struggling.
Right? Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm excited about, which is a weird way to put it, but with tonight's podcast is the three of you all have your own stories. And yours is probably, to me, the most poster child for that and your courage and faith and your desire to be here. So why don't you just give a little, you gave us a background on your family.
Okay.
Just sort of tell your story. Like,
Sure.
what are you here to say and what can we
Sure.
learn?
Sure. So I was somewhat in the same boat as her. I tried to have my first baby for 2.5 years. I was told I had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. I had a miscarriage during that time as well, which adds to all of the lovely emotions. But I had Brody, and that was 10 years ago. I think with him, it was more just the baby blues. It was just getting used to, oh, I'm a mom. I'm not going to sleep. I have to take care of this baby all the time. Matt goes back to work after a week. And that's it. That's all men get.
Yeah.
Luckily, my family they're all within 10 miles of me, which is nice. And Matt's family too. So they were there to help me and get me through that. With Blake, my second one, it was a planned C-section because I had one with Brody. And so I think, thinking about that, I think it's, okay, my body was nowhere near ready to have this baby. The doctor made the appointment. I went in and had the surgery, and it was just like, well, okay, we're going to take this baby from you. And my body just went, whoa, what happened? Because I knew that it was not going to be easy having a baby and then still having a 2.5-year-old to take care of at the same time. Again, Matt was with me for a week and then went back to work. And then, so
Which you're not even near recovered at that. Like,
No, you're
you
not
can't
even there like 2 months.
Yeah, you can't even like
Right.
pick anything up at that point.
No, especially with the C-section.
C-section.
I couldn't lift Brody.
Right.
Who was 2.5, and to try and explain things like, I can't really help you as much as I want to a 2.5-year-old.
Right.
It's hard. And he luckily was like so easy. He was my easiest baby by far. But yeah, I kind of told myself for maybe a month and a half, like, okay, it's just my body, it's just my emotions, my hormones, it'll go back to normal. After a month and a half, it did not. And Blake was not, like my second one, was not sleeping well either, so I wasn't sleeping well. And then Matt was working full time. I still had Brody to take care of, and I just was not getting what I needed. And I don't even know if I had slept fully, if that would have helped with my hormones, but that's what it was. And I got to the point, I think it was probably about the 2-month mark, where I was just crying all the time. Even in front of my 2.5-year-old, I was like, he's not going to remember this. I don't care. I'm just going to cry. I was home by myself all day.
Yeah.
My mom would come when she could. She still works to this day, so she wasn't able to come a lot. And I remember telling Matt, I don't want to be here. I can't do this.
Wow.
I can't. I don't. And he goes, yes, you can. You're going to call your doctor tomorrow and tell him every single thing that is on your mind. I don't care. I'll go with you. You have to do it. And I did.
Wow.
And looking back, I mean, you say a lot of things when you're in your emotions and you're hormonal. I would have not gone through with it, but mentally, that's where I was. I just didn't want to take care of the boys anymore. I didn't want to take care of myself. And so I met with the doctor, and he was like, this is so common. Don't ever be afraid or embarrassed to talk about it. And he prescribed me, I think, Zoloft. It was like the minimal amount that you can take. And it really, really did help.
Yeah.
I took it for, I think, 3 or 4 months. And then I kind of weaned myself off of it and kind of slowly started to feel like myself.
Wow.
How long had you been, for the fact that you finally said that to Matt, wasn't the first time you thought it?
No.
And so how, for lack of a better term, like, to me, that's what grieves, all of it grieves in my heart. But like the number of times you had nothing left and didn't say anything. Like, was it the whole time? Did it get worse? Did it ramp up? Like, what made you finally say it to him? Or were you just finally done?
I think, I just don't think I could just hold it in anymore. And luckily, I knew Matt would not brush it off or say, okay, just get over it. Like, he would fully understand and support me. So I think that's why I was just like, I can't hold it in anymore. So,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's tough. I get you don't want to even say it to yourself and admit to yourself that you're having those thoughts. But I think once you get it out, especially with someone you feel safe with, not just a random person, not just to whoever.
So I was going to ask, did you like and trust your doctor? Like, did you feel?
I really did.
Okay.
Yeah, he delivered both of my sons, and I really did.
Good.
I did trust him, and he actually, after my second one, at those appointments, was like, "Please let me know if you feel like." You do a questionnaire also after every appointment, but he would always like vocalize, "Please let me know because it is so common," and I think people don't talk about it.
Right.
People don't want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
It's not fun to talk about, obviously.
But I think that's also important that you liked and felt like you could trust your doctor. Like,
Yeah,
if you felt
absolutely.
like, ooh,
Right.
because
Oh, yeah.
we had a weird experience with.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, we did. We shared the same, for a minute, right?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Well,
we won't
say
say
it.
his name, but he was not great.
Like, I would not have called him to say, like,
Oh,
hey, I'm
no.
dealing with this stuff.
Oh, my
You know
gosh,
what I mean?
no.
Like,
no.
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 What about Sandy? Blazer?
I don't think she never saw her.
Oh, what about you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like,
Right.
that's also part of it, that you could feel uncomfortable.
Because he was very minimizing and just like brushed things off, like just even during labor. Yeah, no.
And he wore a lot of
During
rings.
labor?
Ugh,
Yeah, that was a rough.
it was weird.
That was rough. He didn't deliver. Thank
Maybe
God.
you should give out his name so people don't Oh my gosh.
I wonder if he's still practicing. I don't even know.
He could have maybe taken off his rings before.
Right?
Blech.
I mean, I could not have nail polish on when I went to have a baby. How was he wearing rings?
I don't know.
That's a very good
Like, I was told to take
Yes,
off my
yeah.
nail polish.
Yeah.
I might be jumping the gun, but
Yeah.
when you talked about seeking attention to your doctor, like
Yeah.
I feel in general that whole thing needs to change. Like, oh well, you're gonna have this baby, and we'll see you in 6 to 8 weeks or whatever the follow up is.
100%.
Like, you totally need follow up way sooner than that. Not just physically, but like in my opinion, like there should be several like recommended.
I agree. I
Especially,
fully agree.
not just 6
especially
weeks.
after your first.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
when we had Joe, and we were being discharged from the hospital. I'm like, well,
Now what?
We're taking this baby
Yeah, I
home.
still can't believe they gave him.
What are we going to do with him? Like, I didn't know. I know. And then you get home and you're like,
now what?
like
Right.
somebody should definitely be calling to check in and say,
Right.
like,
Right.
are you okay? You know, like,
Well, there was so much pride, like during pregnancy, there was like
Yes.
a monthly call, or like all of that. But then the aftercare,
Right.
even in recovery in the hospital, I feel like could get better. There's just so many things I would wished was more available. Or
Well, you think, I mean, you have to take the baby in like 6 days after
Yeah.
the baby's born.
Right.
Why shouldn't you have
that's right.
the same?
Yeah, there's
same
a
thing.
questionnaire at every well check for the baby. But sometimes you're so focused on that baby and making sure they're gaining weight and they're doing all that they need to do. Of course, you're putting yourself second, of course.
Did you have to fill out a questionnaire like that? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
yeah.
I mean, and I
Then it's
remember,
like, did they really read it? There's times I'm like, do you really read? Like, what, like.
like you want to write down, like, I see aliens at night, and just see if they,
Yeah, right.
call you and say,
Yeah.
what about the aliens? And you're like, oh, you
Right,
read
that's
that.
true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of just they probably look for certain ones that you would check. If you don't, they're probably like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I
They don't
think,
need it.
Emily, part of your story that's so interesting that I think people don't talk about enough in this kind of conversation is, I'm sorry you had a miscarriage. That's terrible. But that really messes up your hormones. I know. For a long time.
It
And people
does.
don't talk about how we get those back into balance before trying to be pregnant again. Like, that's a serious
Absolutely.
imbalance.
Let alone the grieving.
Yeah.
Right.
We didn't experience that, but a miscarriage. But I'm pretty sure being, nobody grieves correctly, pretty much for anything, let alone a miscarriage. It's sort of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you hear like, oh, I know my sister had two, and oh, yeah, you'll be okay. Like they go right to encouragement, like just general people, and oh, it's perfectly normal. You'll be fine. Like, do you know what I just put into?
Which it's sad that it is somewhat normal. Like I'm pretty sure 1 out of 4 pregnancies will end in abortion.
Oh, dear. That's a different podcast.
Sorry, yeah. Oh my gosh. In a miscarriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people realize that.
Yes.
And I mean, people
people
have
shame.
multiple miscarriages.
Right.
Oh yeah.
There's
Like-
no discussion about it. People don't talk. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, people just kind of think that they shouldn't share that for some reason. Like, it's just kind of like almost, for me, it was, I too had a miscarriage, and it was almost like shameful because it's like, well, your body doesn't work. Because I too had PCOS. And yeah, so I was already in that mindset. So then
Yeah.
this happens, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, of course, So yeah, it really can mess with your head.
But to your point, Emily, you said, that it is so common. That's kind of my point, that there's many people going through it. Just because it's common doesn't mean it doesn't dramatically impact you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I always say that your wedding day and when you give birth to a child, they're the two most special things you can do in this world. There's no other wedding day like your wedding day. There's no other wedding day. And it's the most special thing you can do, and yet the most common thing you can do. People have been married in every culture for as long as time exists. Everyone who's ever been on Earth was born. but yet it's so specific to you. And so the loss is still so traumatic. And like, do you hear of miscarriage support groups? Like maybe a fertility clinic has a flyer or something.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have to kind of go really searching for it.
Right.
Kind of thing, you know? Yeah. There definitely could be more support for that.
Rachel, when we were talking about this earlier, you and I, you sort of gave the background because I think it's important with what you said with, Brody. It was like, okay, it was hard to have a kid. Yep, that's tough. And then with Blake, it was like, oh no, this is different. And Rachel, you sort of touched on the 3 different childbirths we had.
And that's the other thing to remember is that every pregnancy can have a different effect. Like you said, you didn't feel that way after your first, but sometimes people can feel that after their first, but not after their third. And I think the symptoms, which we can touch on even more later, so after I had Joe, and I didn't even realize that this was what it was, but at night I was talking in my sleep. Like he would wake me up, like, what's wrong? Or I would be talking and he would come in and he thought I was laying on the baby because who am I talking to? So he would freak out and be looking for and I would like lash out in my sleep and like smack him around a little bit. And that I didn't realize it at the time, but those are symptoms of postpartum depression because I don't normally do that. But I didn't realize it at the time. And then after Bella, it was pretty bad. So we had two big dogs, Big Mama and Dr. Knowledge.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Those are great names, by the way.
Yeah, they were good dogs.
They're 1.5 great dogs.
Yeah. So Joe was 2 when Bella was born. I mean, they're almost exactly 2 years apart. And so 2 big dogs, 2 babies. He was working, coaching, ministry. I couldn't
with
do
a highly variable schedule.
Right. Like he could be gone until 11 o'clock at night. And I couldn't do it. I was crying all the time. And for me, I didn't do it, but I wanted to hurt the dogs. Like, because as soon as you get a baby down for a nap and they start barking at the mailman or something, and I was like, either the dogs need to go or you need to be here 24 hours a day because I can't, I just can't do it.
It's so hard.
Also, after Bella, I had to have, I don't even know if you remember this, I had to have a follow-up procedure.
He already says he doesn't know what it is.
I had to have a very uncomfortable follow-up procedure. And just, and for me in my brain, like after we had Joe and people coming to visit, I felt like the house had to be perfectly clean. The laundry had to be put away. The dog fur had to be swept up. And I was just doing too much. Whereas like if you have a good friend coming over, they shouldn't care if you have a laundry basket. But in my brain, I was like, oh, everything has to be perfect. I have to look like I have it all together. And then the same thing with Bella. But then when I had to have that procedure, I mean, you made a note and put it on the front door because the way we live our lives, like people just pop over like unannounced. And he just put a note.
We're not encouraging that even now, just so you know.
Right.
But he put a note on the door saying, thank you so much for stopping by, but we really need our rest. And so maybe call and we'll set up a time to get together or something. And then after Trey, I mean, I was fine. Like, and I think.
So crazy.
Yeah. But I think also,
kind of
like
ironic.
you kind of touched on like sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is just vital. Like, when you're not stringing together more than an hour or 2 at a time, like, woof. That's
Can't function at
yeah.
And Amy, how was your experience after Maggie was born?
So I remember Rachel, I was probably 6 or 7 months pregnant, saying to me, you're going to have this tiny human that's going to require everything of you and never thank you in return. And like, I knew
Still
that.
hasn't.
And I knew that, but it just really sunk in. But then, once it happens, well, and first of all, again, she was a miracle and, labor and delivery were pretty, it was fine. I mean, for the first time, but like I had a pretty bad tear, like just like 3rd degree tear. So I was really sore, like physically hurt. It was rough. She lost a pound and we getting almost jaundice and like the first, appointment. It was, so that was just like, I remember just sobbing like this, like shaking in the pediatrician's office because like I was just so wait, and then I was mad at myself because I like forgot like a bottle or a diaper to bring. Like you just start braining yourself up, like So, and then it was probably a month in, I was starting to have nightmares of Eric dying, and not ever like Maggie dying or wanting me to harm her. It was him. Like I had this huge it was just so scary, and I would have racing thoughts like. It was just totally not me. And I remember standing in the kitchen with Eric and I was like, I'm not okay. And I was like, what are you seeing for me? Like, like what are, you know what I mean? Like,
No,
are you
I
seeing
know.
me
I
as
just
like a
know
different,
the two of you, and I know poor Eric in that moment. He's like,
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
exactly what I'm supposed to be seeing, honey.
I think that's what scared me the most was the nightmares. That's what really got me.
Sure.
Like, okay, this is not, I've never had nightmares ever. And then, he was like, no, you're definitely not your best self. And he meant that lovingly. And I said, no, I need to be okay. So you guys can be okay. So yeah, I went to my PCP and I think I held it all in, and she's known my story. So she's been with me for several years. So she's known the whole story. So when she walked in, I just wept and she's like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? And we talked and I said, there's something wrong, but I need somebody to help me sort this out. And she's just like, thinking Zoloft. And I was like, okay. And, and then she's like, would you consider counseling? And I said, yes, I'm totally open to that. So they actually had a counselor on site at this office. And so I did set up an appointment. It ended up just not being a good fit. I just kind of felt like she was saying things like trying to relate to me, like, oh, well, my sister has kids and here, like trying to just like relate to me and it's just mindful and for what was she saying, like mindful thoughts, like put some good thoughts in your head. And I was like, this isn't not what I was expecting. So I knew, and I was like, I can't, so I didn't go back to her, and I went to another place that some other people had recommended, and it was the most amazing thing I had ever done.
Good.
It was phenomenal. I would meet her at 8:00 at night. So she's a mom too. So like Maggie would be in bed, he's here, I could go. I actually looked forward to it. Like it was like once a week. It was kind of like
nice.
my time. And, so it was, I first went in saying, I don't know who I am. Like I just didn't know who I was anymore. I was like, I still feel like I'm the old pre-Maggie, but now I'm a mom. And I how do I mold these two worlds and become a different person? I am a different person. And plus, she was a miracle and all this thing, and I didn't want to put her on a pedestal, and it was just so much going on. Like, so it was a lot, like pretty intense. Like I went through therapy for probably about 8 or 9 months.
It's good though.
Yeah. And it was, I actually missed her sometimes. I was like, I need to go back to her sometime, but.
They're like, are you pregnant again? You're like, no, I just want to talk.
Yeah. Right. And she was very relatable. She also had kids, but she would say things in a way that not like the other therapist did. Like, well, let me tell you what my sister did, like who had kids. And it just, I don't know, we were a very good fit. And she even said the first day of therapy, she said, you may find in a month we're not a good fit, and that's okay. I don't want you to be mad. I'm here for you and for you. I'm here to work myself out of a job is basically what she said. She said, so you tell me, and my job is to find someone that's a good fit. But we ended up being a very good fit.
That's great.
Yeah. So it was a crazy time, and definitely the medication helped, and of course leaning on my girlfriends who, like you guys are moms. But I am a little, like, their kids are older. So, of course, you guys were in the thick of it, and you guys were very supportive. But sometimes I felt there was a disconnect, and it was just because of, your kids are older.
Yeah, it's just different phases of life.
Yeah, right. So it was good to reach out and get the help I needed. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Emily, you mentioned the medication, but did you get any counseling?
I did not. I'm trying to think if that was ever, ironically, I have a psych degree. So I have thought about it in the past. I don't know if it was ever brought up to me by my doctor or anything. But no, I did not have any.
So
no
you
counseling.
mentioned with Brody that, I had the baby blues. And then with Blake, this was different.
It was very different.
And Rachel, you talked about the 3 different, experiences you had. For people that are women who have had children, how do you know the difference? That what is normal, what is scary, what is, what's the difference? What should they look for?
Well, I think something would be something that you wouldn't normally do. Like, yes, all moms are going to be tired and still are. Ours are 20 and 18 now. I'm still tired.
Oh my gosh, right.
But, so that's normal. But like for me, crying at a dog barking was not normal.
Sure.
Or like, having a breakdown over Target not having what I need, or like that's not normal for me. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something to look for, something that's out of, like you said, you never had nightmares, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Yeah, you both said you had like weird night.
Yeah.
No, that's
nighttime.
true. Yeah.
like
I
and
don't remember having those, but I've never even heard of that being like a warning, almost like a warning sign.
Yeah,
that,
I actually was
something is
watching.
not right.
I think it's so funny. I watch Dr. Phil all the time. I love Dr. Phil. But it was a show that was talking about it, and one of the women on there was like talking in her sleep, lashing out, sleepwalking, like all that kind of stuff is,
Right.
Well, and let's just talk about, I was thinking about this today. I mean, when you're pregnant, you can have so many different things that are going on with your body. You can have a great pregnancy, or you can have a really hard pregnancy.
Right.
Then you go through labor and delivery and all of that. And then you have to adjust and go through the baby phase. You're both wearing the same stinking diapers, right? At the same time. Your body is not what it used to be at all. You have all these emotions and hormones. So it's like that whole part of it, that's an adjustment in itself. So I
Right.
think, especially with your first one, you're just, okay, like you said, going home from the hospital. Okay, what are we doing?
Right.
Well, what are we supposed to do every day, all day? And so I think if you are having symptoms or even just thoughts that are just harmful to yourself, harmful to the baby, anywhere
Sure.
close to that, obviously that's a warning sign. But just different things like you said with the sleeping, like I never knew that would be. But that's good to know. Like that's a good thing to look for.
Right.
I never had those, but
I also want to touch on what you said, because of how I said like having a miscarriage that messes up your hormones, but so does having a scheduled C-section. Because if you think about like
100%.
when you go into labor,
100%.
body starts
Right.
doing
Right.
what it's supposed to do in
Exactly.
quotation marks. But when you have a scheduled C-section,
Yeah.
Right. Or
Your body-
induced.
right,
I was
your-
induced. So that was another, you're right.
your body doesn't know what's going. Like so, again, your hormones. Like to me, that should be like an immediate follow up because
Yeah. Yes. Agreed.
Right.
your body doesn't know what to do with that.
Agreed.
This having Emily on the podcast started on one fateful night in Target. I was
so random.
coming out, and she was just pulling up with the kids, and so I jumped in her car. And
As you do.
I really don't. That's something I never do.
My
But,
son was like, Mom.
well, we did like chit chat for like 20 seconds, and then you were like,
Yeah.
and so then I hopped in so she could park. But I mentioned how the hardest thing for me going from 1 to 2 was the fact that you don't, as a man, you don't get the emotional reset. That when you're pregnant, you share hormones, and this child. You hand me Bella night 1, and I'm like, wow, she's crying just like Joe cried, and this is terrible, and it's never going to end. And I don't know this kid. I still don't think I know her. No, I'm just kidding. But and you said, but that's what it felt like for me. That I didn't know this kid, and what am I? And to me, like that was horrible for me. Like 1 to 2, and this isn't about men tonight, but men go through this.
Absolutely.
I it was so difficult. Well, add in the guilt of I'm the mom. I'm supposed to have this.
Right.
Like that to me, the guilt that must go with it is got to be exponentially traumatizing.
The guilt of that, but also along with having a second kid, and you feel guilty that you're not giving them the attention that you used to give them when they were an only child. And now you have this baby that you have to take care of all the time. And your kid's 2.5. What do they really understand of, okay, mommy has to go feed the baby now, or mommy has to go put the baby down for a nap. And that guilt too, it's a hard balance. And like you said, when your baby is born, it's great if you feel a connection right away. I don't know how many women actually do, I definitely did not with my second. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that night in the Target. It sounds so weird. You mentioned in the Target parking lot. Somebody asked you about having more kids or whatever.
Oh, yeah. It was the woman that I usually see to go donate blood. She'd asked me how the kids were and how old they were. And she said, do you want to have any more? And I said, no. I had way too bad of postpartum depression. And she goes, you were the first person to ever say that to me.
Wow.
To admit that. And she said, I feel like people need to say that more. And I said, I agree with you.
Yes.
Because people, no matter what age you are, people will pressure you to have kids.
Sure.
Right.
Yes.
A lot. And I think if you're just upfront with them and upfront with yourself, like, no, I'm okay. I went through that hard time. Don't want to do it again. I'm good. So it's, she was so almost like blown away that I admitted that. But
I think that's a wall that needs to get torn down. Because, I mean, I can also remember way back then not wanting to ask for help because I was like, well, I did this. I made this person and then I added a second one. Oh, and then I added a third one right on top. Like this, and feeling like I shouldn't ask for help.
yeah.
And that's
Because this is what you chose. And,
right.
Yeah.
And I should be able to do it and handle it and
Right.
like.
Well, and that goes back to my question of what's baby blues versus postpartum depression. I think if you even ask the question, you should ask for help.
For sure.
Let somebody,
Yeah.
tell you, like, what somebody say you're soft. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would much rather, 9 people ask for help when they don't really need it than one person not ask for help.
Absolutely.
That needed it.
Yeah. Because I was also I think I was more anxiety because I was also very irritable. But then, like, when I didn't know. Yeah. Eric's shaking his head.
Speaking of
Yes.
courageous.
Yeah, God bless. But their depression, anxiety can be cousins, and so it was very. Even going into therapy, it was something like we talked about in the very beginning, and how similar. And I just knew, I was like, something's wrong. I just need someone else professionally. At this point, I'm not of any kind of clear mind to sort this through. Like, there's something here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So anxiety also can
And I keep hearing
flood
that
into
more
the
and
depression
more.
too.
Instead of just postpartum depression, is postpartum anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, I mean, it's. I've had anxiety a little bit in my life, and postpartum anxiety, I can't even imagine going through that. So, yes, speak up for sure.
And I think a lot of this comes down to comparing yourself, with other parents, with other moms, and like you even said, your family was close and you had lots of help, and it's like, okay, great. So it's still hard,
Oh, yeah.
and so you think like it's almost worse because you're like, oh, look at all this help I have. And yet I'm still so upset. And I think it's just so important to just know what you're feeling and know how you're feeling and to get that help and not compare yourself to other people because we are all different. The running joke one of the running jokes in my family, when Mary Lynn was 6 and the oldest of 4 kids, and my mother said to her, Mary Lynn, please, you are not a child. Now my mom felt zero guilt. I mean, she just was just like, look, I'm going to keep moving forward. I don't know. But so what if you have 1 or if you have 6 or you have 4, you have whatever, you feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
Let's look at, once again, we've done some good research here at the table. I will show you that these are things we've looked up. What is the source? I don't remember. I never cite sources. But the symptoms, this is on page 2, of postpartum depression. Common symptoms are extreme sadness, fair. You can tell me, like, if you think they should or should not be here. Crying, mood swings. Did you guys experience mood swings, or was it all just kind of... Because that surprises me. Mood swings.
Yes.
Like I would think,
It would all just be constant.
just swung
Yeah,
the one
actually.
way.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, getting irritated easily
Yes.
and not being interested in your baby. Then you may also have extreme tiredness. Well, okay. Like, of course. Like,
Right,
what's
that should
extreme
just be-
tiredness?
Yeah. That's
But-
a given.
Changes in
That is a
sleep.
given.
There you go, Rachel. Anxiety, difficulty doing daily activities such as showering, worrying too much about your baby without good reason. Huh. So it's almost extreme indifference or extreme obsession. Hopeless, not good enough, guilty about any of these feelings. Would you add any?
I mean, just like how we talked about changes in sleep, and on here it says sleeping too much or sleeping too little, but sorry, but like I said, like talking in your sleep, lashing out in your sleep, walking in your sleep, that you don't normally do.
And that eventually just went away for you.
Yes, I think once
the dogs went away.
Oh,
I mean, once again, for me, what really helped was stringing together like good chunks of sleep. And our kids were, thankfully, all of them were good. Like by 6 or 8 weeks, they slept through the night.
Oh,
It
okay.
makes a huge difference.
Well, I just remember like Joe could sleep through a nuclear attack.
Yes.
And like a moth would fly by 2 streets away, and Bella would be like, "Oh, we're getting up. Is everything cool?"
Yeah.
Like, I would drop Joe into the crib, and Bella, you had to push hard on the mattress to slip your hands out underneath,
And then
she would wake up.
army crawl out of the room
Yes.
and, have extra binkies laying around so she could find one if she lost hers. But she did sleep through the night.
And they eventually got it right.
Right.
Like the darkness was only 2 months. I always call the first 2 months of like a child. Like I see any parent, I'm just like, "You see her in the darkness." I'm like, "Oh, yeah,"
Now, we did with ours. Did you guys have like a bassinet in your room, like with you when the babies came home, or did you start with the crib?
no.
Okay.
I am such a light sleeper. And I knew, especially with Blake, like I knew that if he slept in the room with us, I would constantly, like, if I heard him even just make a weird noise in his sleep, oh, he needs something. What is wrong? Like, I knew. So he went down the hall. Obviously, we had like a video camera, sound camera, or a sound machine and everything. And why do I keep hitting this?
Because it's
Too
right in front of
Italian.
you.
Too Italian. I talk with my hands too much. He slept down the hall, and he honestly was good that way. He didn't sleep great, but I got better sleep that way because he wasn't in the room with us.
She did. Yeah, but you're right. Like there was
Yes.
sometimes you just survive, and there was times where I'm like, she'll just sleep on me, so I would kind of sit up on the bed, and I remember watching like Pole Kings at 4 a.m. or something.
Oh, please. It was Golden Girls.
Right?
And
there was
it.
Golden Girls too. But yeah, the one night, but then you're afraid to fall asleep because she's, but I was like, but she's sleeping. So again, it's always you're always pointing everybody ahead of you. That's that.
I felt
still
that.
do it.
I felt that pull. I mean, I agree with you that, we had the bassinet right next to me, and every little noise, I was like, what?
Right.
What?
Especially
But at the
for
same time, I
few-
couldn't put the baby in the nursery. Like, I had to have them near me until they were like sleeping more through the night. But like the 6-week mark, it was like, pew, you're out of
Well,
here.
and I'm sure, don't take offense.
I won't.
I'm sure when Joe was little, they did not have the video cameras and all of that yet.
No.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, we had monitors. Remember our one monitor? We could pick up what the neighbors were saying across the street. It was really weird. It was really weird.
We thought somebody was in the room with Joe.
Yeah. Yes, we could hear like the husband's voice in Joe's room and it was we were like,
scary.
what's happening? But whatever.
Who just had a nightmare about that?
I don't know.
That's not a really good point in the podcast.
No,
Sorry.
it's not.
Oh, it was from Are You Butterflies or Ninjas? The nightmare the guy had.
But yeah, we just had the sound monitor. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So I could definitely understand not wanting to put the baby that far away
Yeah, I feel
in
like
the beginning.
I mean, our kids, again, Joe's 20 and Bella's 18. There's been like a lot of advancements
New
in
gadgets.
baby gear and stuff.
I almost said MRIs.
We didn't have like
Ultrasounds. They actually look like babies now.
Yeah,
The 3D
I
ones,
mean,
like they look
yeah.
like clouds.
I have
and
still
things.
never seen any of my children in the ultrasounds. I was just like, oh, yeah, it looks great.
yes, huh?
Nope.
All right.
Wait, I wanted to say one thing that we did that was weird, and maybe it's not even that good, but we made a deal, like, because she was nursing, like the way I said that. And there was, sometimes they say, oh, it's good for the husband to get up and be there with you and experience it and all that stuff. She's like, you don't need to do that. And so I would sleep so that at least I had rest.
Sure.
And then the deal we made was once they were done nursing or out of the room, I would always get up first.
Yeah.
So like after the nursing days were done, I was on duty. And if it was, if it got to a point where I couldn't do something, then I would go get her. But like she could live for, okay, there's going to be a time where I will sleep.
Yeah.
Because my schedule was so variable, it wasn't like, I got to be at the office at
So I
6
do
a.m.
remember there were times that you were super helpful. You would go in and get the baby, change their diaper, and
I
bring
didn't
them
do
to
nothing,
me.
but,
Right.
and then
that
fall asleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that deal, because I remember being like, when they finally go to the big boy bed, or they're having nightmares or they're having whatever else, like, it's years later and I'm still paying off those first 6 weeks of her being the first one to get up.
Right.
But happy to do it.
Yeah.
Well, because nursing's a whole other ball of wax.
That's another podcast.
But it's a lot.
A lot of guilt in that as well. Like those who don't nurse
Yeah.
or when you stop
Nursing is a
nursing.
Right.
Which
lot.
is so stupid.
Yeah.
Just feed your
In the
baby.
grand
That's another
scheme of-
thing.
Yes, a fed baby is
That's another
good
thing
ba-
too.
yeah.
With Brody, I just could not. The milk was just not
Yeah.
there, so I didn't. And Matt, just like you said, we would kind of do every other feedings, which was nice. Thank the Lord, because I knew, okay, I'm going to feed first, and then I got a good sleep till the third feed, if it even happened.
Right.
But I was so depressed with Blake. I had no. I didn't want to do it
Yeah.
because it's a lot. It's a lot to breastfeed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Just when you finish, you feel like you get
Yeah.
a little bit of a reprieve and you're back at it. It was,
And or if you're not, and
it
then
was
you have
too
to
much.
pump at night
Yeah.
and just
Let me tell you.
so
Yeah.
Breast pumps, that changes everything. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
honestly.
that
was not
is-
pretty.
That changes everything for a husband.
Wait, two things.
You poor husbands.
Oh, you have no idea. Let's talk about which.
Wait, I was going to say something, but I forget what it was.
Oh, it fell out of your head.
Oh, no, wait, I know. Under the symptoms column, I thought of another one that was just, I mean, maybe it's just a sign of being overly tired, but there were times in the morning that I literally could not remember if I had nursed him, nursed Joe in the middle of the night or not. But yet I knew I would have had to have because he was only a
Yeah.
month old.
Oh, I'm sure that's lack of sleep.
Yeah.
But I
Oh, yeah.
like literally couldn't remember it because you're
Sure.
supposed to do like which side, and now they have an app for that. We didn't have apps back in the day. But you put a hair tie on the wrist that you just
did it
did
on-
so that
Oh,
you would knew
right.
to start on the other side, like different little things like that, and it would be on the same side, and then I would cry because I didn't know did I not feed my baby, and it was just
I should know. You know,
Right.
it's all the, yeah. You
Women
put all
who
that on
are
yourself.
listening who have not had children, I hope we are not
it's wonderful.
talking you out of it.
You should definitely
is.
try it.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
You
Give
do
it
over
time.
again.
Give it time.
But I go back to my point, like, it's the most special and the most difficult and the most common.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in the dark, in the dark ages,
If
babies,
it wasn't
babies
really
were
worth
born.
it, people wouldn't keep having
Right.
babies.
I guess.
Well, and I think it's also
Well, sometimes it just happens.
good for
This is true.
women. All right.
Well, mom's mad.
My face is so hot. But for women to support women and to
Yeah.
be that good friend, the one that comes over and sees the laundry and helps you fold it. And
Right.
then they go, oh, honey, you didn't get to that yet. Or like,
Right. You just do it.
or
Yeah.
Absolutely.
not to come over when you don't want anybody to come over. Or, to be that friend that says, hey, are you okay? Like,
Yeah,
or,
absolutely.
can I take the baby so you can take a nap? Or like something.
Can I clean your house because you just want to sleep and the baby's sleeping?
Right.
So
Like,
many things.
We have all these experiences that, it could benefit others to help step into that gap.
Yeah.
No, and that's something I kind of wanted to finish our time on was what can moms do? And you just mentioned a few things quickly, but like specifically like checking in on, like just checking in on the emotions, identify, like what would you encourage other moms? Because you want them to, so often you hear them like, well, they've got to figure it out. But you all said like, I could have used a phone call. but you know, we don't want to intrude, you know,
Right.
and it's so often it's like the few moms that are listening to this that probably shouldn't be the ones reaching out are the ones who are going to be like, oh, they said we should always reach out. But how should they do? How can moms be more loving to new moms is my question for the table.
I think something as simple as saying this is normal, or just like, it is okay to feel what you're feeling, or just joining you. Like, I know that's so simple, but it's sometimes because we put this pressure and you know, I'm supposed to be doing this, or, oh man, I messed up. I don't know, at least for me, like it just would have been helpful to say that, or even getting ahead of it. And again, I know hindsight's 2020, but maybe saying like when you are pregnant, to set up something like, hey guys, you know, the first week, or hey, can you send me a text, or I don't know, just maybe that's something to help too, to like, you know yourself best, like maybe check in with husband or, you know, dad first, and, you know, see, like get a barometer of how mom's doing, like how is she really doing, you know what I mean? Because like, you know, moms could say, oh yeah, fine, everything's fine, meanwhile, you know, you know, Eric had to just step in and just go a couple times, just I have her go lay down, and I'm like, but nope. And he had to do that, otherwise I just would have just kept plugging through. But just knowing that it's normal, like, and checking it, and
I think also having established those good relationships, that it wouldn't be weird.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't weird for me to text you and say like, hey, what do you need? Or can I do, or whatever. Like, you know, you obviously wouldn't do that to a stranger, but you should be building good, strong relationships, that it wouldn't be weird for me to call you and say like, hey, what can I do? Or something.
This is a terrible analogy, but it's almost like the private detective or the undercover cop who goes into a prison. Like, you sort of want to set it up with the expectant mom. Hey, how many, you know, you're going to go through some things and I'm going to be checking on you. You know, you say it then so that like, no, I told you I was going to be checking in. You know, you gave me permission to do this and not to be forceful, but so the expectation is set, not to overly focus on, I want to make sure you don't go through, you know, but to set up that expectations, to prepare, like you guys are saying, before, rather than be reactionary after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things you said, Amy, that I think makes a good bit of sense, especially given the podcast, but to not only make sure that moms know that they're not alone, but also don't let them be alone. You know what I mean? Like, they're not alone. Many people have gone through this, and what you're going is very specific to you, but not letting them be alone, like to be an ever present, you know, help and offer. You said, you know, even like help clean the house, different things like that, meals. I mean, is it a combination of like, we should ask ahead of time, but also make sure we offer after? You know what I mean? Like, because you might think like, oh, I'm going to need help cleaning the house, but then the baby's born and you're like, I don't want anybody in this house.
Yeah. I mean, whoever your close circle is, just whoever you feel comfortable with, like, okay, yes, that would be helpful, or no, I'm good. Honestly, I don't need that. But if you're close enough to a person and they're saying no, but you really think that they do need it, step in. Be stubborn. Just like
check in on the husband and get the inside intel.
Yeah, I mean, I myself was like that in the very beginning because I'm a stubborn person. Like, I don't like to ask for help. And sometimes when I do ask for help and they don't do it right, sorry, I'm that person. Like, I would just rather do it myself.
Yes.
And so know that. Have your husband be like, well, she really could use the help. You know, just in a loving way, not like she's driving me crazy or I don't know what to do, or, you know, just support.
Right.
And I think to the husbands out there, I mean, I've filled with so much regret as we've gone through this, and I think of the mistakes I made, many of them. But, you know, be the best dad and husband you can be. I mean, the roles have changed over the years, you know, where guys are so much more involved anyhow, you know, but make sure that you can competently say, no, I got him. You know, we're going to go. I'm going to take him for a while.
Absolutely.
And one thing we did, you know, during the trade days is I made sure that Rachel had girl, friends that were praying for her, that were looking out for her, that were surprising her with gifts, whatever else. It's a different kind of trauma, but, you know, men, you have to make sure you're taking care of your bride as much as possible.
100%.
And if it means talking behind your back, you talk behind your back, because you don't know. You're not a medical professional. And so say like, hey, is it crazy that she's this way? You know, or is this normal? Like, and it sort of comes back to being open and honest and vulnerable in all our communication. You know, ask for help when you need it. Tell them you don't need the help. Don't listen to them if
Exactly.
and push through once. And then when the husband calls you and says, yeah, don't ever come over again. Okay, then don't come over again. So,
But avoid the pop in. Send a text first.
Yes.
Don't just pop in on someone.
nobody likes to pop in.
Nobody likes to pop
I have a
in.
gift for the baby, and you're like,
Yeah.
and it's not what I want. Yeah, yeah.
You're in the middle, like sitting there with your breast pumps on.
Right,
I'm like, great, thanks.
Back to the breast pumps. Just changes.
I'm so sorry.
It's fascinating, by the way. But Emily, I am just so grateful that you would sit with us, and we'd love for you to come back to talk about what was it, the breastfeeding episode we got locked and loaded.
Well, there was a couple. She was
I
throwing them
never
out there.
breastfed, so I can't be.
Oh,
very
feeding. You fed your children.
Of course.
Okay, good.
They're good. They're healthy. They're good.
We just said the other day when our JoJo was in elementary school,
The letters.
we would once a year get a letter sent home from the health center, the nurse's office, whatever you want to call it, saying that they would have to contact CPS if his BMI dropped any lower because he was so tall and thin.
I guarantee my brother got that same
he
letter.
still
yeah.
does.
Oh my God.
He really does.
That's why your dad had to retire. They were like, we're coming after his business.
And we're like, clearly he's healthy. He eats
my
all the
gosh.
foods.
He was 99th percentile for head circumference and height, and like 12th percentile for weight.
He was gaining weight. He was just growing faster. And we were like, oh, come on, nurse's office. Do better. Like, you can
know who
see.
you are, though. Also,
Yeah, but I think they had to, like,
It's a form.
legally send a document home.
like a mandated reporter. Almost.
Yes.
Oh
We
my
turned him
gosh.
orange with some carrots once.
We did with the baby, the orange baby foods, like the sweet potatoes, carrots. He was a very orange
I
color.
remember the strawberry reaction on his bum. We did a whole episode on diaper rash. Gosh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wait. All right. All right. So that is it for episode 204. But on a special note, seriously, if you are out there and having any negative thoughts, any suicide thoughts, the hotline is 988.
Crazy.
Reach out and
Just
contact.
3 numbers. 988.
Yes, please take it seriously. Please make sure to give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for
Nope.
Lunchtime in Rome.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.